In the 1964 and 1965 passage of legislation, the Voting Rights Act, the Civil Rights Act, a lot of fervent members have become lackluster, backed away, no longer fervent. Dr. King noted that a lot of the members had celebrated entirely too soon because of the passage of that legislation. And we know that can be a dangerous thing when you celebrate too soon. You can't claim victory while there's still time on the clock. I'll leave that alone. His frustration led him to determine and ask the question, where do we go from here? He even penned a book asking that question. Where do we go from here? On one evening, Professor George Washington Carver was in his office. George Washington Carver was born into slavery and rose to become a distinguished professor at Iowa State College of Agricultural and Mechanical Arts. But on this evening, Professor Carver received a letter, and when he opened the letter was from Booker T. Washington of the Tuskegee Institute. And Booker T. Washington was also a man like Dr. Carver, or Professor Carver, and he said, Professor Carver, I need your help, because I'm not sure where I need to go from here. Now I'm paraphrasing, but I'm not sure where I need to go from here. Booker T. Washington was a prominent man who was also born into slavery and rose to be one of the most sought-after educators there was. He was also an advisor to multiple presidents. Washington wrote, Professor Carver, our students are poor, often starving. They travel miles of torn roads across years of poverty. Here at Tuskegee, we teach them to read and write, but words cannot fill empty stomachs. They need to learn to plant and harvest crops. Washington went on to say, I cannot offer you money, position, or fame. Now, how many of y'all know that would have did it for some of us? Instead, he said, I offer you work. Hard work. Soon thereafter, into Washington's shop, Carver accepted, writing, I'm looking forward to a very busy, pleasant, and profitable time at your college, and shall be glad to cooperate with you in doing all I can through Christ who strengthens me. Where do we go from here? Professor Alexander Tyler lived from 1747 to 1830. Now, so far, guys, I've been asking you to ask yourself, where do we go from here? But what I want you to think about when I give you this next little bit of information is ask yourself, where are we? Where are we? Professor Tyler was a professor at Edinburgh University. And he noted that there had been 4 major world nations, world-leading nations: Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, and the Roman Empire. And what he also noticed, that they had suffered or went through the same process of rise to fall. The average age, Professor Tyler told us, of all those organizations, or all those nations, was 200 years. Think about it for a second. 200 years. America is 245 years old. Where are we? He also noted what he called a sequence of democracy. And here's what he said. These great nations have progressed through the following sequence. All of them started from bondage, and from bondage to great spiritual faith, and from spiritual faith to great courage, and from courage to liberty, and from liberty to abundance, from abundance to selfishness, from selfishness to complacency, from complacency to apathy. It can't happen to us. From apathy to dependency, what we're entitled to. And from dependency back to bondage. Where are we? I submit that we need to be asking the question, where do we go from here? I believe that Mrs. Parks asked that very same question. After the arrest, after the TV cameras left, and after all the reporters left, she had to sit down at some point and say, what's next? Where do I go from here? And guys, I believe that she wants us to be voices to empower others. I challenge each of you as leaders, because I think you're leaders. If you're sitting here right now, you're a leader. You're here to honor such an iconic woman who did such a great thing. So I challenge each of you as leaders to not become complacent. Don't become apathetic or dependent. Instead, realize you have what I would like to call a leadership vehicle, a car, if you will. As leaders, we know that we have a choice when we get in that car, y'all. Leaders envision the future. Envision your leadership as the vehicle of your opportunity to affect change in your community. I think Mrs. Parks would have wanted us to do that. You can get in your leadership vehicle and you have 4 choices once you get in it. Now I'll give you the benefit of thinking that the car started. Very few people get in the car and just sit. Yeah, I'll give you the benefit. But you can choose park, reverse, drive, or neutral. You got choices.
That's all right.
Let's start with park. You get outside and you get in your leadership car and you turn it on and don't do nothing. You stay in park. Well, starting the car is okay, but the engine is running. You're burning fuel. You're making noise, polluting the air, but nothing's happening. Leaders produce. Staying in park may make noise, and you may feel the car vibrating around you, but nothing's happening. Many of us know leaders who make a whole lot of noise, but get nothing done and go nowhere. Park is safe. It feels good. It sounds good, but goes nowhere and gets nothing done. Park is not a good option. The next choice, reverse. That's another option. Reverse takes you back to where you were. Come on. Most times, reverse is awkward and uncomfortable. You got to throw your arm over the seat and look back and turn your neck and twist your head and hurt your lower back if you like me trying to look over your shoulder. Truthfully, the only reason to be in reverse is when it's impossible to go forward. When you travel in reverse, you go where you've already been. The only reason to be in reverse is for a quick course correction so you can get back to driving.
All right.
Reverse can help move you from a parked spot, we talked about park a minute ago, and get you back in position to move ahead. Never stay in reverse long because it's limiting. You can't go very fast, you can't steer very well, and you can't see well. There's a reason why your windshield is 100 times bigger than your rearview mirror. Reverse is not a good option. Then we have neutral. Neutral. I ain't gonna say nothing about it, I'm neutral. I wonder if Ms. Parks would have said, I ain't gonna sit down, I'm neutral. Neutral is a little bit better than park. Some leaders will see neutral as a way to get around things. The truth is, neutral is just as much a waste of time and energy as park is. The biggest difference with neutral is that you may move because you don't have the brakes on. But the only way you move is if somebody run into you.
That's all right.
Bump you, push you in one direction or another. The part with that is you only go in the direction they push you, and you only go as far as strong as they push you. Neutral is dangerous because it shows indecisiveness, complacency, A willingness to be influenced or pushed in one direction 1 minute and another direction another minute. As leaders, you and I have got to be on the side of what is right. Mrs. Parks stood for what is right. As leaders, we have to be on the side of what is right. Some leaders would take the seemingly safe stand of being neutral, but there is no neutral when right and wrong are concerned. A leader who won't stand for something, y'all know, will fall for anything. Neutral is not a good option. We got one option left, y'all.
All right.
That option is to drive.
Yes, sir.
Our last choice. Now, when we went through power, reverse, and neutral, we finally got to drive. Y'all know what happens when we get to drive. We feel a little in the car, right? As leaders, we keys to what I call the leadership car. We expected to be doers, not sitting idly around on your hands, but be doers. To go because you can, to lead because you know how to, and have the compass in the GPS of your training, your knowledge, your skills, your ability, your drive, your motivation. While driving our leadership car, we should lead others from the driveway and parking lot of attending conferences, having meetings, making plans, thinking about it, and lead them to the superhighway and interstate of servant leadership, community involvement, transformational leadership, empathy, genuine concern, people building, and growing our neighbors and our neighborhoods. Not everyone we meet will have a car. Sometimes we may have to offer a ride. Offer the ride of encouragement. Offer the ride of compassion. Offer the ride of love and selfless donation of time, talent, and treasure. Offer the ride of leadership and concern. Offer the ride of togetherness. As leaders, I challenge each of you to always realize others are following you, trying to keep up with you, or keep you in sight. Realize what you're saying. Think about what you're saying to yourself. Self-talk. That's what the experts are out there saying now. Self-talk. What we say to ourselves matter. Or unconscious bias. Let me tell you how self-talk and unconscious bias works. I was doing my daily devotion the other morning and I came across a story of where Jesus freed the young man who had the legion of demons. And you would have thought that with such a magnificent event, people would have been happy. They would have come to Jesus and been overwhelmingly happy. And that's what they did, right? No. Because of self-talk and unconscious bias, they decided we got to get rid of him. Now, I'm paraphrasing. And I wondered when I was reading my devotion, y'all, why did they do that? And being a trainer, I came up with it was unconscious bias and self-talk. See, they didn't see the young man clothed in his right mind, seated at the feet of the master. What they saw was, it's going to be a chicken challenge. It's going to be a pork chop and a ham sausage. We got to get rid of it. He done killed our whole to Christmas. Unconscious bias. Negative self-talk. We are to be doers, not sayers. Be careful how you navigate the traffic of being too busy, or how you handle red lights of hesitancy and resistance, how you deal with the poor drivers of any naysayers and dividers. Guard carefully not only what you do, but how and what you say to others who are driving erratic. See, the truth is, you don't know what somebody's going through. You don't know who had to fight all night long just to be here this morning. You don't know who has a child that may be drug addicted, or you don't know who has a parent that's in hospice, or don't know how they're going to get their next meal when they leave out of here. You don't know that. And because you don't know it, you got to be careful. My challenge is that we drive careful. That not everyone has the driver training that we've had. The truth is, you don't know why people are driving erratic. Anybody ever see somebody driving crazy and you wonder what they're doing? And you make up in your mind, they're on the phone. Or as my grandbaby said, must be some old person. The truth is, we don't know. So my challenge, be the best driver of your leadership car and help lead them to the destinations of success and unity. Remember, as leaders, in the memory of Mrs. Parks, modeling who she is, remember, we are to be influencers and influencing others in the positive, proper way. We influence whether we choose to or not. Yeah. So the question that I'll leave you with is, where do we go from here? I would suggest that we stay. Thank you.